Well, we got introduced to the poet Andrew Marvell in my previous lecture, part of the lecture. Now we shall go ahead with the poem. So this poem, which is titled as "To His Choir Mistress," a mistress who is shy, is written by Andrew Marvell, and it must have been written in the 1950s. Okay, and the poem was not published until 16, not 19. I'm very sorry for that. It is 1680s, 1650s. He must have written. Means it was published after his death. This poem has a carpe diem theme. Means it follows an example of Roman poets like Horace, and it urges a young woman to enjoy the pleasures of life before death claims her, before she dies. He asks her to enjoy life. So it is an attempt to seduce the mistress, to win her heart. He's trying to win her heart. He's proposing her, and he's trying to get her acceptance of his love. And in this process, the speaker dwells with grotesque intensity on death itself. He talks about death. Death is not going to wait for anyone. So death seems to take over the poem at some point. So it displaces the speaker's erotic energy. And there is a fear, a kind of fear at the end of the poem. I shall first of all read the poem and then we shall go ahead with the explanation. To His Choir Mistress by Andrew Marvell. Had we but word enough and time, this coyness, lady, were no crime. We would sit down and think which way to walk and pass a long love's day. Thou by the Indian Ganges side shouldst rubies find, I by the tide of Humber would complain. I would love you 10 years before the flood, and you should, if you please, refuse till the conversion of the Jews. My vegetable love should grow vaster than empires and more slow, and 100 years should go to praise thy nights, and on thy forehead gates 200 year, 200 to adore each breast, but 30,000 to the rest, an age at least to every part, and the last age should show your heart. For lady, you deserve this state. Now would I love at lower rate, but at my back I always hear time's winged chariot hurrying near, and yonder all before us lie deserts of vast eternity. Thy beauty shall no more be found, nor in thy marble vault shall sound my echoing song. Then warm shall try that long preserved virginity, and your quaint honor turn to dust, and into ashes all my lust. The grave's a fine and private place, but none, I think, do there embrace. Now, therefore, while the youthful hue sees on the skin like morning dew, and while thy willing soul transpires at every pore with instant fires, now let us sport us while we may, and now, like harmless birds of prey, rather at once a time devour than languish in his slow chap path. Let us roll all our strength and all our sweetness up into one ball and tear our pleasures with the rough strife. through the iron gates of life. Thus, though we cannot make our sun stand still, age will make him run. Now we shall go for the explanation of the poem. So, what he says in this poem, he says, if we had all the time in the world, means if we were not supposed to die, your putiness wouldn't be a problem. Had we but enough time and had we but word enough in time, this finest lady, this shyness, wouldn't have been a crime. Then what would we have done? We would sit together and decide how to spend the day if there was unlimited time. Okay, we would have thought over. Yes, what would you do then? Had we got enough time? Had we got the time in a control? So we would sit together and decide how to spend the day. You would walk by the river Ganges in India, Ganga, they say Ganges, okay, and find rubies. In those days, Britishers had come to India. The East India Company had come to India, and they had the impression that India is the land of treasure, land of rubies, and land of what we call the treasure, wealth. So you would have spent your time on the banks of the river Ganga collecting rupees. And I would walk by the river Humber in England and write my poems. So you would be on the banks of Ganges and I would be in Humber, on the banks of river Humber in England. Then I would love you from the very start of time, even before the biblical flood. You might be knowing something about that. The world is going to end someday according to Bible. There will be pralay, that is biblical flood. Before that, I would have started. I would love you from the very start of time, even before the biblical flood. You could refuse to consummate our relationship all the way. Means you would have rejected my relationship till that time. So this is how, means he keeps on telling all the possible things that he could do. But eventually he comes to the point that time is there, not in a control. I can hear time, you know, riding in the chariot. Chariot is a kind of horse cart, Ghoda Gadi. And time is coming, rushing, and our death is waiting for us. And once we die, our youth, our life, your beauty will not be any use at all. So we shall have the explanation of the poem line by line in the next part of my lecture.